Hey friends, I'm Steph from cheapskatecook.com and welcome to my kitchen. So here's the problem. You have an Instant Pot and you've tried a couple of recipes on Pinterest and they've turned out pretty well, but you already have a bunch of soup recipes that you love. Rather than needing to recipe test tons and tons of Instant Pot recipes in order to find ones that are similar to the recipes that you already love, I'm going to show you how you can take your soup recipes and convert them to the Instant Pot. It's really, really easy. In fact, I didn't even realize that people didn't automatically do this until people started asking me questions about it. So I'm so excited to take you step by step. It's only going to take 3 easy steps to take your favorite soup recipes and turn them into Instant Pot recipes. First, the process of making soup in the Instant Pot is almost identical to making it on the stovetop. You just take a few ingredients, you're gonna saute some of them, you're gonna add the rest of the ingredients, and then you're gonna put the lid on it and you're gonna cook it. Very, very simple, right? You do this all the time on the stovetop. The difference between stovetop and the Instant Pot is that it is a pressure cooker. And so you're going to seal the valve and you're going to set the time that you want it to pressure cook. And then you get to walk away and you get to do something else. You don't need to think about it. You don't need to run back into the kitchen because the soup is boiling over. You don't need to babysit the stove. You can just walk away and do something else until the Instant Pot dings telling you that your food is ready. Step 1 of converting your favorite soup recipes to the Instant Pot is that you have to decide how much soup to make because it is a pressure cooker. Therefore, you can't fill it up all the way. So stovetop, you're gonna probably fill up the pot as high as it'll go, depending on what the recipe calls for. But when you are converting your own recipe, you have to make sure that you don't overfill the Instant Pot. So basically, a good rule of thumb is to keep the Instant Pot half to 2/3 full, and that leaves enough space for it to build up pressure and cook your food really well. Now, the really precise way to figure this out is to take your soup recipe and measure out all the ingredients and calculate it and find out how you need to adjust the recipe so that you're not filling the Instant Pot too full. My preferred way is to just put the ingredients into the Instant Pot, and when you're filling it up with the broth or the water, whatever you're using for your base, then stop when the Instant Pot is half or 2/3 full. After the soup is done cooking, if it's a little thick and you want to make it a little thinner, just add your broth or water then. The next step, and probably the most challenging for people, is to figure out how long you need to cook your soup for. And that is actually solved very easily. Basically, you just look at your ingredients and figure out which one takes the longest to cook. You simply take the ingredient that takes the longest to cook, and that becomes your base for cooking this particular soup. So for example, if I was making a chicken and rice soup, the chicken and the rice take roughly about the same amount of time. So depending on what kind of rice it is, depending on how big the chicken is, I will check how long each one of those takes to cook, and I will choose the one that takes longer. My Instant Pot came with this little recipe booklet, and in the back is a bunch of cheat sheets. So we've got like a rice and grains list here, we've got seafood and fish, they have meat and dried beans and legumes, that kind of thing. And so I just check that real quick. If you don't have a hard copy of something like this, then you can find the times online really easily. A quick internet search will give you everything you need to know about the Instant Pot. There are a few tricky ingredients that you have to be very careful about accidentally overcooking in your Instant Pot, because if you overcook these guys, your soup is gonna taste terrible. First, broccoli. Broccoli is a very tender vegetable, and we all probably know what overcooked broccoli tastes and smells like. So I highly recommend that if you are making a broccoli cheddar soup or any kind of soup that has broccoli in any form in it, that you cook that separately. Or if your soup is full of ingredients that don't take very long to cook and you're only cooking it for a minute or two, then you can go ahead and cook the broccoli in with everything. But if it's like a rice soup or a chicken soup, then leave that broccoli out and steam it separately and then add it to the soup after it is done cooking. The next tricky ingredient is pasta. Pasta is also very tender, and if you cook it too long, then it's just gonna be mush in your soup. So I highly recommend, again, pay attention to what your ingredients are and how long your soup is going to be cooking, and then hold off on the pasta if you have lentils or some kind of meat or anything that's going to take longer than 1 or 2 minutes to cook in the Instant Pot. You can cook the pasta separately, or you can let the Instant Pot run its cycle, add the pasta, and then cook it for another minute if you want, but then you have to deal with giving it the time to get back up to pressure and then release the pressure, so I personally just cook the pasta separately. Dry beans take a long time to cook, so if you are tempted to try cooking a dry bean-based soup, I recommend that you cook the beans first and then add them to the soup, because most ingredients will be beat to death by the time the beans are cooked through. If you want to know how to cook dry beans in the Instant Pot, I have a video for that. You can just check up there. It's really, really simple, and it's my favorite way to cook dry beans. Last is any kind of dairy product. So if you have a cream-based soup, or you're going to stir in some melted cheese, wait until after the soup is done and then add the dairy product. This also includes things like yogurt. So I have a favorite turmeric spiced chicken recipe, and we add the yogurt after it's cooked. Those are the main tricky ingredients that I know about, but I would love to hear from you if you use your Instant Pot a lot. What kind of tricky ingredients you've come across that you need to be just a little bit careful with when you're adding to soups or any other Instant Pot recipe. Let me know in the comments below. If you're still a little worried about converting your own recipes to the Instant Pot, one of the easiest kind of cheat ways to do it is to look for similar recipes online. So if I have a favorite chicken noodle soup recipe and I want to figure out how to convert it to the Instant Pot, but I'm feeling a little uncomfortable doing it myself, I'll just look up someone else's chicken noodle soup recipe and copy the times and kind of the method that they use, but use my own ingredients. The same rules apply for converting slow cooker recipes to the Instant Pot. You're just gonna saute whatever you need to, add the liquids, and instead of cooking it all day, you can cook it for a couple of minutes, and then you can let it sit on the warm setting all day if you need to. Now that you know those 3 rules, you are ready to convert all of your favorite soup recipes to the Instant Pot. To make it a little bit easier for you, I created a quick cheat sheet for some of our favorite soups to kind of give you an idea of what this would look like if you apply these rules to chili, broccoli and cheddar soup, chicken noodle soup, things like that. You can find that cheat sheet at the link in the description. So I wanted to talk you through an example of how you would take a stovetop recipe and convert it to the Instant Pot. And the way we're going to do this is with one of my favorite hamburger soup recipes, which for those of you who have never had hamburger soup, it might sound weird and gross and kind of like Hamburger Helper. But for any of you who have tried it, you probably know how delicious and warm and comforting it is, and it's loaded with real food. Now, to kind of show you how you can use ingredients that you already have, I am not following my recipe perfectly. Instead, I'm taking some of the tricky problem ingredients and I'm going to show you how you can incorporate them into the Instant Pot, and it's no big deal. So for this soup recipe, we have hamburger, we have some peas, we have onions and carrots, garlic, spices, a bay leaf, tomatoes, and I usually make this soup with potatoes or rice, but this time I had some pasta on hand, so I'm going to throw in a couple handfuls of pasta as well. Now, just like I said, you're going to set the Instant Pot on the saute setting, and Normally, if you were not cooking any kind of meat, then you would add some kind of oil like butter or avocado oil or olive oil, but I'm going to be browning my meat and then I'm going to add the onions and carrots and celery right after that. So I'm not going to use any oil, I'm just going to toss the meat in there and let it brown for a few minutes. You're going to want to stir it every now and then so that it doesn't burn on one side. And usually while the meat is browning, I will go ahead and chop the onions and the carrots and the garlic. You can use garlic powder too. Just use a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder for every clove of garlic. So after the meat is mostly browned, I'm going to add the onions and the carrots, give it a good stir, and let them cook for a few minutes more. Sometimes I let this cook for a good long while until the onions are translucent and the carrots are starting to cook through, and sometimes I'm in a rush and I hardly let them cook at all before I go ahead and add the garlic. If you are using any kind of spices that aren't dried herbs, then you would go ahead and add them along with the garlic. So cumin, turmeric are kind of my go-tos. You can add coriander, chili powder, paprika, things like that. I'm only going to let that cook for about a minute because I don't want the garlic or the spices to burn. So I go ahead and add the tomatoes and any other veggies in the recipe. Now I'm going to throw in the bay leaves and the herbs and the pasta and give it all a good stir. So it's just the tomatoes, and then if I have beef broth, I'd add that, but today I have water. And now we're ready to put on the lid. Don't forget to close the valve or else the pressure cooker is not gonna work. Since the carrots and the pasta are things that take the longest to cook in this particular recipe, so I'm going to set the Instant Pot on manual pressure, and we're only going to cook for like 2 minutes. Then I press start and let it do its thing. And there you go. Now that the Instant Pot has beeped and told us that the soup is ready, we're going to take the lid off, and look at that. So delicious. Maybe give it a good stir. Add the frozen peas. Sprinkle in the salt and pepper, make sure everything's stirred well, and then put the lid back on and let the peas continue to cook for just a couple of minutes. And that's it! Delicious Instant Pot soup made from your own stovetop recipes. All you need to do is follow the 3 rules that I shared with you, and you can start converting the recipes that you know and love into Instant Pot recipes. Do you have a favorite soup recipe? Because I would love to hear from you what your favorite soup recipe is, and if you have tried converting it to the Instant Pot before. Go ahead and let me know in the comments what your favorite soup recipe is. So that's it! 3 simple rules and you can convert all of your favorite soup recipes to the Instant Pot. No more needing to sift through Pinterest and find a bunch of recipes and realize that they call for ingredients that you don't even own, you don't even use. You can just take the ingredients that you have, the recipes that you know and love, and start using your Instant Pot all the time. Special thanks to Kitchen Stewardship for collaborating with us on this video. You can find this post and pictures and the cheat sheet and step-by-step ideas in the link in the description. If you liked this video, you might also like the other Instant Pot recipes that I have on my channel. You can like and subscribe for more, and you can go check out the channel because there are a ton of Instant Pot recipes there that have helped us save money and eat healthy over the years.